Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time. This time on the Kindness Project, holiday traditions, dolphins, and we have part one of our interview with Pinky Lilani. Welcome, my friends, to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a girl who's shining, just like a Fifth Avenue diamond. It's Charlotte Ames. Classic.
And I'm joined by a man who, when packing for holiday, he packs more books than he does pants. It's Chris James.
Oh, that is an amazing intro.
Thank you, I came up with it 5 minutes ago.
Right, no, look, there will be more undergarments in my case by the time we leave for holiday tomorrow.
Currently there's 4 pairs and 6 books.
No, right. There will be more pairs, because you know what my tradition is when I go on holiday? I like buying new pants and socks. That's my holiday thing, new pants and socks for a holiday. So my mummy's, for new listeners, not my mummy, my wife, Cassie, and Charlotte's mum, is your mum. It's your mum. Always says, why do you buy new socks and pants on holiday? I think you want to go on holiday and just have some new undergarments. So
socks for holiday?
That book pant ratio that you've very weirdly connected, but funnily connected, will change. So I will have just as many books as pants, and potentially more pants than books. What's your book to knicker ratio?
2 to 8.
2 to 8. So you're taking 8 books and how many knickers?
No.
Oh.
I am taking 8 books and 24 knickers. I'm taking 8 knickers and 2 books.
How long are we going for? Only going for a week, can we? That is, are you going to have like a knicker change every 3 hours? Oh, they're gone. I'm burning them. New set of knickers.
No, I've got 8 knickers and 2 books, but I am taking Hitchhiker's Guide, and it's the complete collection. So it's 5 books in one, so it's 6.
Yes, I don't know if because I'm taking the Spike Milligan collection, so it's got all his poetry, all his novels, everything in there, and that counts as one book because it's a compendium. So that Hitchhiker's Guide is a beast of a book, isn't it? I mean,
I'm on the second one. I'm on Restaurant at the End of the Universe,
which is one of my favourites. But quick question: what's the knicker equivalent you're taking of that? Have you got a pair of big knickers that you're taking?
all my knickers are big knickers.
Okay, fair enough. This has got a bit weird now. So we are, listeners, on holiday from tomorrow. But by the time you listen to this, we'll have come back.
And then gone again.
That's the way, gone again. Because number one, we like holidays, and number two, that's how podcasts work. But normal business continues because of our esteemed editor, Mr. Russell Dames, who's not here today, but I just thought I'd give him I just thought I'd give him a shout out because of the fine work he does, making sure that even if we're not here, the podcast just carries on.
You're awesome, dude.
Dude, you're awesome.
Where's my donkey?
Dude, where's my car? Have you heard? They're remaking Bill, and they're not remaking. They're making a sequel to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Have you ever seen? You're looking at me like you don't know what that is. Have I made an late 80s, early 90s reference again, and you've gone straight over your head?
Oh, where did I go?
Can you tell our listeners where they can get in touch with us?
I could.
Can you? Will you?
I might. Give it a mo.
All right.
Let me wrap my head
Whenever
down.
you're ready.
Yeah, I will.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let me, I can't remember this Twitter thing. Hola at the kindness project. No, at
80 odd weeks in, and we're still getting the hola. Hola. And it's getting, the H has completely disappeared. At the start, it was like, hola. Right, now it's just, hola. Hola at the kindness project. No, hola kindness. Hola kindness.
it's Facebook and there's a magical search bar thing. You can just find us in there.
Yeah, kindness project. There's
I never find anything on Facebook, so find anything. Good job.
If you put the kindness project into Facebook or now Google, okay, we come up top.
Oh, nice.
So you can find us straight away. Because as we've mentioned over the last few weeks, we are now the
17th happiest podcast on the planet.
amazing work. Still quite proud of that.
We might be the 17th happiest human podcast. You never know, the penguins might have started the podcast.
No. What's the most happy animal? Clearly the dolphins.
I feel like we're miserable.
Right.
Okay, well, dolphins get harvested and collected and put in captivity, even though
I know. You know what's in. You know, yeah. I just like to think of dolphins as quite happy animals, but they are mistreated by humans. Let's be honest.
And that makes them suicidal.
There is an amazing movie, quite a sad movie, but an amazing movie called I think it's called Blackfish or something like that.
We watched it.
Watching it made me decide never ever to visit. To visit a sea life centre or anything like that again. Because I always assumed incorrectly that sea life centres were about preservation and conservation and good treatment of animals, and you can see why. I mean, sometimes this stuff's obvious, but you need it pointed out that actually dolphins are never designed to be lived in captivity. So it's a really interesting film. However, yeah. However, this week's question is a little bit different. It is, who is, in your personal opinion, the most overrated actor or musician?
I know who yours is.
Who?
Nick Cage.
I wouldn't be surprised if I had people agree with me on that particular point. Who's yours?
I don't know.
You like everybody, don't you?
People are nice. No.
People are nice.
People are horrible. But
No, people are nice.
some people are nice.
Most people are nice.
A lot of actors are really nice as well, and funny. I like watching the videos of them doing the interviews. Have you seen some of the ones with Benedict Cumberbatch and Tom Holland? It just kind of has to stop him.
You know what I quite like? I quite like a celebrity impression. Do you know, I like an impression of. I tell you, who does it really well. Who played? What's his name?
It was kind of fun.
He was in.
Did it really.
He was in. Benedict Cumberbatch does a few impressions, but there's
He can't say penguin.
He can't say penguin, no. But who's the actor who played Loki in the Marvel comics? Tom Hiddleston. No, I might have got that wrong. But he does a set of amazing impressions. So I like watching on YouTube, watching actors doing impressions of other actors. That's all good fun. But apart from Nicolas Cage, I can't think of anybody that springs to mind. So listeners, we need your help. We need to understand who you think is massively overrated. Now, let me just raise one particular point, okay? I have been accused on Twitter, when I asked this question, of not being particularly kind. And as we are the Kindness Project, I thought I'd highlight that particular point. It's a personal opinion. Doesn't mean you're right. It means that you just think they're a bit overrated. And I appreciate the feedback that maybe we should ask only positive, optimistic questions. But we're not saying they're bad. We're saying they're overrated.
People think too highly of them.
Exactly. Apologies for those of you who thought this question is unkind. It's not. It's meant with all the love in the world.
Also, it's funny.
So, so with all the love in the world, who's a bit rubbish? So that's it for this intro this week. Shall we crack on with the show?
Oh, yes.
Our guest this week has got a Wikipedia entry, which is a bit amazing, because our guest this week is a lady called Pinky Lilani. Now, she's known as Pinky Lilani. Her actual name is Nusrat Mehboob Lilani, and I've just probably absolutely butchered that, so apologies. But let me tell you about Pinky. She's an author, motivational speaker, food expert and women's advocate. She's the founder and chair of several awards recognising influential women and leaders. Okay. Now, the reason that I wanted to interview Pinky is because she was the founder of an award that highlighted kind leaders in business. And I thought, if there's one place that we need a bit more kindness, or highlighting a bit more kindness, it's in the world of work. So I wanted to talk to her about that, but also talk to her about the amazing work she's done over the years. And guess what? Because she runs a food business, a lot of the talk is about food. Would you like to listen?
Go on, then.
Hi, Pinky. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the Kindness Project. We really appreciate you coming on to talk about us. Now, I know a little bit about you, but I want you to share with our listeners a little bit about you. So tell me a little bit about you.
Well, basically, I came to England about 40 years ago when I got married. I came in 3 weeks after meeting my husband in India. And it's been an amazing journey because I think the most important thing for me was being a mother.
Okay.
But then after having had my children, I decided I wanted to do something more, and so I learned to cook because obviously I didn't know how to cook coming from India. So food became a very big part of my life because in India that's the center of everything. Yep. So I was teaching people how to cook. I wrote 2 cookery books. And then I really wanted to do more for the empowerment of women, and I set up the Asian Women of Achievement Awards and went on to set up the Women of the Future program, which is about 6 different programs rolled into one. And I do a lot of work also in the charity sector, so I'm on the board of the Royal Commonwealth Society, I'm patron of Frank Water, and so I kind of try to do different things. I'm a deputy lieutenant for London as well. So, lots of different things, but what I enjoy most is bringing people into my home.
Okay.
To meet people they would otherwise never meet. So for me, that's really, really important.
That's really interesting. So I've got a few questions off the back of that answer. We actually met we had a deputy lieutenant for Havering on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I didn't realise that job existed. So how did you get involved in that?
About what? Sorry, I didn't get
the deputy lieutenant role. How did you get involved in that originally?
No, I didn't.
Sorry. When you, I was saying that we recently had a deputy lieutenant on the podcast talking about.
Okay.
How did you get involved in that role?
Well, I think it's by appointment, so you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to be a deputy lieutenant. It's very much they're looking around for people who would, kind of be good in that role.
That's right.
I was just recruited in that way.
How do they send you the letter? Is it a phone call? Is it a letter? How does it work?
About the deputy lieutenant?
Yeah.
Well, you're called up to do certain visits if they need you. Now, London, because I'm a deputy lieutenant for London, there are about 90 deputy lieutenants.
There is.
And so when the Lord Lieutenant can't go, he may ask the deputy to. So I get called up occasionally, but the other thing I'm involved in with the lieutenancy is looking at the Queen's Awards for Excellence.
Okay.
So in the London area, we're looking at who can be nominated, how do we recognise them, and do the research on that. So I do a little bit of work on that.
Okay. And let's talk food before we get into the what you do in the area of women's empowerment. Before the podcast, we were talking about omelettes, and I got really scared because I think my omelette's really good, but I'm sure that if you tried it, I'd have plenty of room for improvement. So.
I don't think so. I'm sure you're being very, very
So, can I ask, what's your speciality dish? What dish do people rave about? But what dish are you working on at the minute to improve?
Well, that's a very interesting question because part of my life is going to give talks on leadership and inspiration.
Okay.
And I always keep my wok with me. So at the end of a talk, I'll plug my wok in and I'll make spicy Bombay potatoes because it's easy, it's tasty, it's very doable for people who want it. It empowers people. They all think I can go away and cook that dish. It's so simple.
Yeah.
But I actually don't like eating spicy Bombay potatoes. I don't set up for omelette.
Right.
I would say I love, I love kebabs and things like that. Suddenly I've decided I want to do this Russian salad with tuna. So it's salad russo.
Okay.
I'm trying to perfect my salad russo.
Okay.
So it's very different to Indian food, but I do a lot of Indian food, obviously, and different techniques which are interesting, and I think they're important for people to know they are techniques.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize there are different techniques for different dishes.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So, tell me about a little bit about the Women of the Future program.
Well, the Women of the Future program really is our flagship program aimed at empowering the next generation of leaders. But there's emerging leaders, so it's women under 35. So we started with the award, so we recognize women under 35 in 14 different categories. So it's very rich because it's cross-sectoral, so from construction to entrepreneurship to art and culture. And then because it was so successful and we had all these amazing women who wanted to keep in touch, we set up the Women of the Future Network because I think networks are incredibly important
Agreed.
for people in business success.
Agreed.
Then we went on to set up a school program because, again, getting the right role models for sixth formers is vital if we're going to get them inspired and for them to really go into industries they would never think of. So we have a school program where we send our role models into school. We take sixth formers out to visit other corporates.
Yeah.
Then we have a summit, like a mini British version of a Davos.
Okay.
That's part of it. And then we've gone to Southeast Asia now, so we spread our wings. And then we have the kindness list, which is about leadership and kindness.
I love it. So I've got loads of questions about this because, as you know, we were speaking before the podcast. I've got two daughters, and I'd like them to be equipped with the knowledge that if they want to do something, they can. I don't want them to have any limits in terms of their aspirations. But what challenges do you, especially when you go into schools, what challenges do you face with helping kids understand that there's no limits?
I think, there are several things. For one thing, sometimes they've never had role models.
Yep.
Sometimes they come from families where they haven't had opportunities. If you live in a family, you come from a deprived, a socially disadvantaged family you've never met a lawyer, you've never met somebody who's been a trader.
Yeah.
You're never even going to think of those careers. And I think that's where we need to be very clued on about how do we tell people you can do anything? What are you passionate about? And I think when going into schools, it's about helping them with their self-belief, their confidence, and getting them enthused about areas they would never have ever thought of. And also meeting people. I think sometimes we take them to we took them to Aviva last week, and they entered this beautiful corporate. They've never been into such a beautiful building overlooking the city. They got a lovely lunch. They met people, and they came out thinking, I went in there, I didn't make a mess of things, I was able to speak, I didn't drop my plate. Yep. And you come back full of confidence because that's what we need to be.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I think that when you, and I'm from a working class background from the East End, but when you get to meet people professionally and you realise actually they're not that different from me, you turn around and go, actually, what was I worried about? And one of the conversations we have quite a lot in the Kindness Project is that perception versus reality. And there was a lady who came on called Tracy Walsh, who runs the East End Community Foundation, and we were talking about the fact that people who live on the other side of Canary Wharf, on the sort of in some of the council estates in Tower Hamlets, look over at Canary Wharf and can't see how to bridge that gap, even though it's only an hour, only a mile away. And taking people into those sort of environments is the first step, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's like really exposing people to, like 2 weeks ago, I took 14 women from the Women of the Future to have tea with Don Berto.
Yeah.
And he had said, while he speak of, I could bring these amazing women to meet him. So these girls came from all over England, and obviously John Berto has been very much in the news just now.
Yeah.
And talking to him, being there, they were so energized because he made them believe anything is possible.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
It's very important to be, he took time to talk to every single woman and take a picture with her. So instead of being with us for 15 minutes, he was there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that shifted the dial for them.
Yeah, love it. And you mentioned that you're now expanding the Women of the Future programme to Asia. One of the things that I'm curious about is the cultural differences between the UK and Asia and how you potentially overcome some of those. So help me understand a little bit about that.
My son always tells me culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Okay.
And that's so true. Because we went to Southeast Asia and, it was a different cultural set, but essentially I found everyone around the world is the same. All the women we met really wanted to be part of the narrative. They wanted to excel. They wanted to make a difference. They wanted to be collaborative. And I think that's where the similarities lie, where the differences are they aren't used to putting themselves forward.
Okay.
They're much more reluctant to be, saying, hi, I'm there, look at me.
Yeah.
Whereas here you will find more of those.
Okay.
So I think that was the difference. And also, they're not used to young people being acknowledged, and nobody is doing cross-sectoral in Pan-Asian for women under 35. And a lot of them felt, well, I'm going to be 50 before I've really achieved anything. How can I enter?
Right.
And actually, their achievements are absolutely exemplary.
Really interesting. Now, one of the things that you mentioned in one of the articles I read about you is that perceived connection between kindness and weakness. Now, I believe that that's untrue. I don't think kindness is a weak trait to have. I believe, like you, that the opposite is true. But why do you think the connection's been made between weakness and kindness, and what can we do to actually promote kindness as a strong trait?
I think, the fact is we live in a very macho world, the world of finance and business where everything is on ROI, what's the profit level, and so therefore they feel, in the 80s I remember there were all those movies about these men who were ruling the world, and the thing is it's always about being cutthroat and ruthless to win, and that was the kind of mindset that people thought, that people had to be really brutal to win and to be a leader. And I think it's quite the opposite. I think you need to be really self-confident, you need to be sure of yourself, you need to be compassionate, to be kind. And actually kindness to me makes so much business sense. So it's been in the DNA of all our programs. I've been backing on about 50 years because I think for me, everyone can be kind. And so it gives power to everyone.
Yeah, agreed.
But the word empower really resonates with kindness because anybody who meets me on the road can be kind to me, and therefore they have power.
Yeah.
And nothing else, like, you don't need money, you don't need a PhD, you don't need to be, belonging to a certain class to be kind. And therefore, when anyone can be kind, you can keep extending that kindness. And there's so much of reciprocity in the world that the minute you're kind, I feel you keep building like a bank account of kindness.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
in the end, when you want something, there's so many people who want to repay your kindness.
Absolutely agree.
It's absolutely, for me, it's just such a powerful tool to succeed in the world.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me is I agree. I think that perception that you've got to make unkind decisions is probably a bit of a throwback to how business was a few years ago. But actually, I think for me, being kind and being good is the best longer term strategy. So in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, short-term profits may be less if you make some, but the reality is that most businesses are about people, they're about relationships, and actually doing the right thing and doing the good thing will always pay off at the end. But maybe that's the rose-tinted glass optimist in me wanting to come out.
I totally buy into the theory that, we're all going to live much longer than we ever have.
Yeah.
And you're going to be around. So people never, ever forget an unkindness.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
they never also forget a kindness. So obviously I've been around much longer than you have.
Only a couple of years, Pinky.
Yet, they resurface, and everybody's moving so much, so people I work with in the company leave, and I feel really bad. We've had a great relationship, and they pop up somewhere else and said, I love your program.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you on board in my new company. So and that's because you've been kind, you've been fair.
Agreed.
People really buy into those values. We have to play the long game.
Agreed. Absolutely agree with that. So you must see loads of amazing examples of kindness in business and leadership. What's some of your favourites?
Well, so many of them, and one of them that I will never forget is obviously I do speaking and I charge for that part of my work. And I remember somebody called me from India and said, ma'am, she said, my boss had heard you in England. She's now moved to India. And, we'd love you to, when you come here next to speak, what would you charge? And so I kind of thought, well, in India I can't charge as much as here.
Okay.
So I kind of quoted half the amount that I would charge here. And she came back to me and she said, no, ma'am, my boss says that's not your charge. We will pay you your full charge. I mean, how many people come back and give you double of what you ask?
Yeah.
And for me, that was kindness. And also all kinds of people. Sometimes we're working with companies and they know I need sponsorship. And they will, sometimes they're moving away. They said, I'm leaving the company. They'll come and tell me, I'm leaving in 3 months, but I'm going to make sure that we get the contract signed for you next year before I go.
Okay.
And that is, those kinds of things are when people will just ring up and say, I want you to meet so-and-so. There's a saying called, it's good to give when asked, but better to give unasked to understand. Agreed. And, whenever people do things for us, they just know what we need and do it without us asking. It has a huge impact on me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's absolutely right. So that was Pinky. What did you think of her?
It's good.
It was Pinky. What did you think? I thought she was amazing. And in the second part of the interview that's going to be out next week, we'll share more about Pinky's life and share her answers to the question of the podcast, and expect more food chat. Ooh. Shall we get on with the show?
Yes.
Now this is the bit, Charlotte, you come into your own because you love doing the end.
Oh, is that what we're doing? I feel like we keep missing segments. No.
Well, you know what? I tell you why we keep missing segments is because we have shelved Kindness News. Kindness News used to be quite a big segment. I think we bring it back.
No.
Yeah, I know why you don't want to bring it back, because I asked you to get research and news.
Yeah, and I always end up struggling to find them because I kept finding the same stories over and over again. It was like the same categories, and it was like the same people are being kind, and it's like there's
there are millions of people in the world being kind.
I say we keep it shelved.
Why are we saying it's shelved? Is that because it's too much like hard work, Charlotte?
No, because it's smoother to record it without.
What was that arm gesture? How would you explain that to our podcast listeners?
It was a hand wiggle.
It was a hand wiggle, right? Fair enough. For now, we'll keep it shelved. I might reserve the right to bring it back in the future, though. Why are you doing sad face? Literally, you are a walking emoji at the minute. Just like sort of sad face, hand wiggle. Right, shall we?
There's no hand wiggle emoji. There should be, but there's not. Okay, I'm getting on to bed. On with it. Don't laugh at me.
God, I'm waiting.
Tis the end!
But the end, my friend,
is never the end, because the end is always the beginning of something new.
Because the end is actually the start of last week's question of the podcast, answered this week.
Go on then.
And last week's question of the podcast was, what's your ideal Sunday morning? And in honour of Pinky, our interviewee this week, there's a lot of food in some of these answers. First one was from friend of the show, Robbie White, who said, someone making me breakfast and cooking Sunday dinner. Okay. Lucy Patrick went, my ideal Sunday morning is not having a Sunday morning at all, because I'd be sleeping. I long for my younger days when I could lay in bed till about 11ish, fall straight into a full English, and now I wake up with the birds and just content with not actually moving out of bed till 8 a.m. So she's had to get up a bit earlier as she's got older. Hayley Ball said bacon and eggs, coffee, sofa, duvet, film with the kids. Now I get why she'd want bacon, eggs and coffee, but I don't know genuinely what the sofa tastes like. I mean, that's quite an unusual thing to eat. Mark O'Halloran said lay in till about 10, then bacon, egg and bread. So yes, there is a lot of food.
The sofa would taste like butt.
I genuinely don't know what to say about that. Tasman Kane said, this morning was a good one. It was a bacon snarly, coffee and the Cricket World Cup. Alison said, lie in, pancakes, bit of reading and then walkies with my golden one. Now I'm assuming she's talking about a dog and not her husband or her kids. I don't know though.
Is your whole family blonde?
Yeah. We are all golden. We are the golden ones.
We're the golden family.
What colour would we be as a family?
Oh, brown.
We wouldn't be brown. We'd be orange. We'd be orange. No, Trump would be orange. We'd be purple.
We'd be a very dark colour because like that's all we wear other than soap, and she just wears like I'm wearing mostly dark colours under my shirt.
We'd be monochrome. We'd be black and white. Sean Acton said it'd be we are black and white and very dull. Sean said it'd be at the gym boxing. And Trace Voice said poached eggs and spinach on toast, followed by a double cardio session at the gym. And you can always tell when my gym friends make comments because it's all about it's the gym. Hashtag gym life. Scott Goswell went walk in the park. Just a walk in the park on his own with a friend.
Have you got a bacon sandwich?
Have you got a bacon sandwich?
You got a dog?
Are you with your golden family? John Cook. I'm with my golden family. John Cook said he'd have a lie-in with the pooch, joining me on the bed, the Archers, and followed by a bit of Desert Island Discs whilst gaming. Or when the opportunity arises, a big breakfast followed by a Comic-Con. That's what you go for. And Kim Parks said not working. So her favourite mornings when she isn't working. Impossible Elf at Impossible Elf on Twitter says adult content not disclosed. All right, Impossible Elf, what you get up to in the confines of your own home is up to you. And at Jules100 on Twitter, Chris G said, I'd wake up early, enjoy the silence of the house, breakfast out in town with good coffee and the paper. Simple, but great.
Who are you avoiding in the silence of the house?
I'd wake up with my golden family, ignore them, and then every time they spoke, just went, silence! And then I'd go out and get breakfast and a coffee. Sounds amazing, actually, Chris. On my own, with the paper. So, that, my friends...
And the golden dog.
I am taking the golden family. That, my friends, is the actual end of the podcast. We will see you next week.
Or not.
We will see you next week. Bye.